only issue I had is, why did it have to be a Fabergé egg encrusted with rubies? Who's going to have that in their cupboard and think that's probably worthless?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Of all the objects that the author could have chosen for Molly to be ignorant of its value, why a Fabergé egg?
Bear in mind, there's people bringing pennies and shit on that show. So it's
Literally.
What would you do if you discovered that an old family heirloom collecting dust in your house for generations was actually a priceless relic worth millions? What would you do if you were offered an incredibly expensive gift for your hand in marriage, but your heart belonged to another? I know I would do. Screw true love, take the money. Sure, I'd be sad at first, but when I'm in my Lamborghini Aventador, the wind in my face will dry my tears. Sadly, this isn't a book about what I would do. It's a book about arranged marriages, theft, greed, and infidelity. All my favourite topics. So, what did you think about this book?
Pause this video right now. Go and read The Maid's Secret by
Nita Prose. And when you've read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or you can join us anyway, because I'm going to tell you all about it. My name's Elijah.
And I'm Joseph. Welcome to the Icha Library.
Yeah, anyway, what did you think of the book? Because that's my part. How dare you try to ask me
right.
that?
But you always get so ruffled when I don't ask you what you think of the book. So
you just get it in there straight away.
100%.
All right, let me answer first, and you did answer first.
Yeah.
Or should we ladies first? But yeah, what did I think of the book? I hear you ask. I don't think it was bad. I honestly don't. I think it was a good attempt, even though she's a well-known author. This is like a trilogy. I think this is the second or third book.
It's the third.
Yeah. I thought the book was okay. I thought it was interesting. I was confused in terms of I didn't understand the direction it was going in. And in the ending, I thought was a bit confusing. There was a lot of coincidences.
Exactly.
Everybody knew everybody, you know.
Of course.
Yeah. But I was entertained. There were some good characters in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think you can knock it too much for that. Not for that, but yeah. What did you think?
I'd more or less agree with you, to be honest. I thought it was a good half a book. Half of the book I didn't really care much for.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then there was the other half, which obviously I found a bit more interesting, a bit more compelling.
Thing.
And all the characters you talked about, most of them are in the good half. And then there's like...
you're right. Then there's one good character in the other half. Yeah, but the problem is, with the good half of the story, which we're obviously talking about Flora's, right?
Of course.
That's kind of pointless. We don't need to do...
Flora's one was pointless. What about the other one?
No, but the other one, we kind of needed to know. It was the main one. We needed to know what happened. But Flora's was literally pointless. We did not need to know any of that at all whatsoever. Well,
it just goes to show, you just don't have these flashback things in your book. Just don't do it. I like my stories, start where you begin, end where you end. Yeah. Do you know? And if you're a really good writer, you shouldn't need anything else to kind of like bamboozle me into thinking I'm reading a good book.
But it wasn't a flashback. It was diaries.
Yeah, just like what's that book we read where the girls write letters to Ellen DeGeneres?
And then obviously
it's the same thing,
other one that we just read with the video camera. Where they
exactly.
What's that book called?
That was Home is Where the Bodies Are.
Yes, Home is Where the Bodies Are.
Yeah, it's foolishness. It's not foolishness. It's the same.
It's the creative.
It's an attempt at creativity.
How many have you got?
Which I guess you have to. 7. I guess
you got more than me.
You have to.
You go first then.
By the laws of this channel, you have to give some credit for an attempt at creativity, even if it's not creative. I mean, this is what you always said. Don't worry, roll your eyes, but
no, because I don't know, man. It's just played out now.
I like to take extra points. If you try and fail, you'd get more points deducted than if you hadn't tried. If you hadn't tried at all.
So, all right, go on in.
I should go first, yeah. The auction show was a breath of fresh air. Obviously, we already know that main character Molly is going to unwittingly be found with something of immense value, a hidden treasure, which will trigger her rags to riches story. But the antique appraisers, Brown and Beagle, were entertaining television personalities, especially to listen to. This is the exact reason why I usually try not to read audiobooks. I feel like something so simple as a narrator who delivers their lines well can turn a DNF into a 2 or 3 out of 5 book, which I feel like is cheating. Truth be told, I don't even like this audiobook. I don't even feel like this audiobook went that far, but we've read some books, like The Favourites, for example, where they had their characters conducting CNN interviews in between chapters, and it's like, when does this become a movie?
Yeah, we always have this discussion. So you did listen to this book?
I listened to The Maid Secret,
Okay, so this is what I really liked. It's Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown? Yeah, one of the appraisers.
One of the gay guys, isn't it?
Yeah,
the voice that he had, it was so engaging. Like, I really liked him. I think I'll probably go as far as to say I liked him. He was my favorite character. That's where I'd go. So yeah, Audiobooks can make or break. They don't
Yeah.
always make. So I think it's
Yeah.
even. You know.
Yeah, I don't think it's even. I feel like if they break, it's because you blundered. But if they make, you may not have done anything good.
No. If they make, then that means you've definitely
No, but it wasn't.
overperformed.
It wasn't the writing, though, was it?
No, but
But
okay.
the audiobook is
But that's
leveling
like
up
saying,
your writing.
no, but that's like saying when you read a book and the voices are in your head, um, you're making the book better than it really is because you're putting on accents for this
We're
one.
going into. I mean, depends if you do or don't, doesn't it?
Well, exactly. So, but you're putting your creative flair onto the story, and
Yeah, but that's
how
you
you
doing
perceive
that.
exactly.
Right, but that's you doing that. But it's like if it's an
But that's not
audiobook,
the that's not the author doing that though.
Huh?
It's not the author doing that.
Well, the author can only do so much. They can only write the book. That's all they can do, right? I feel like when it's part of the production and you don't have to use your own creativity, that's work that you're doing. You're doing your own work. Do you know what I mean?
Not when
you're
you listen to audiobooks though.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I feel like it's cheating.
Fair enough. You're wrong. Beautiful opening. I'm immediately locked in. The book starts with Molly the maid having just woken up after passing out on TV. The book time skips back 5 minutes and we get to discover the events that preceded Molly being laid out on a TV studio floor. They were effectively shooting an episode of Antiques Roadshow where Molly innocently produced some of her family heirlooms that she thought only had sentimental value. Turns out it's only a Fabergé egg worth £15 million. So I like the start of the book. It was creative. It was a creative use of a flashback. We don't have to wait till the end of the bloody book to find out what happened. But yes, I commend the start of the book. The only issue I had is, why did it have to be a Fabergé egg encrusted with rubies? Who's going to have that in their cupboard and think that's probably worthless?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Of all the objects that the author could have chosen for Molly to be ignorant of its value, why a Fabergé egg? Why?
This is gonna go more into. Should have been something more something more inconspicuous. Sorry, something that you could easily overlook because it's like. Bear in mind, there's people bringing pennies and shit on that show. So it's
literally
like
why
would she
would
not think?
that's why I don't. Why would the author go with that? That makes no sense at all whatsoever. None.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was thinking that. Why would she think? But it kind of goes into Molly's character development and like how stupid she actually was of a character, to be honest.
Yeah, but there's stupid and there's not. Then there's having a £15 million Fabergé egg. It's like, come
ridiculous.
on, with rubies in it.
What more signals do you need? It's gold and there's rubies in it. Somebody is going to steal the egg. So Molly unwittingly was in possession of a one-of-a-kind Fabergé golden egg studded with jewels that she previously thought was a worthless trinket. To her surprise...
She was a worthless trinket.
To her surprise, the egg is appraised at millions of dollars. So obviously somebody is going to steal it. In fact, I'll do one better and predict exactly who is going to steal it.
So wait, you knew it was going to get stolen?
Yeah.
I thought that they were going to sell the egg and then get some
live
riches.
happily ever after?
I was waiting.
Someone hasn't been paying attention.
I was waiting for the money to come in.
No, I knew it was going to get stolen. But what I achieved in my prediction, I immediately made up for by getting my next prediction wrong. But in fact, I'll do you one better and predict exactly who is going to steal it. A fiver says it's going to be the husband.
Yeah.
Juan Manuel, or whatever his name is. I'll tell you why I think this.
Because of Frida. We've got the maid
not only
secret,
that,
and then the husband did it.
No, that's true, to be fair. I wasn't even thinking that. But
Always think of Frida.
Usually in a love story, our characters getting together or married serves as the story's climax. That big emotional payoff that makes you sigh in satisfaction as you close the book. This time, however, our characters Molly and Juan are shown to be married from the beginning. Sometimes a love story shows two characters falling in love, and other times it starts with two characters already in love and shows how they break apart. Betrayal has always been a satisfying payoff in literature. Let's not forget, Molly wasn't even going to bring the bloody egg to the show. It was Juan Manuel that convinced her to. So perhaps he already had suspicions that the egg was worth something and he was waiting for an opportunity to get it checked out. I mean, realistically, how would you do that? You know, there's a golden egg in your house collecting dust. Who do you take that to? You take to the jewelers, they say, let me have a look at this round the back. You know,
yeah, exactly.
You hear their car going out the parking lot.
Yeah. You know, you're highlighting how 2D the story was. You know, we could have had some relationship issues in there that would have, you know, because we know that the husband can't be the one to have done it because that would have been too obvious, right? But yeah, this was just like a light and fun read. That's what it was supposed to be. I don't know whether it achieved that.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Is she not a fine specimen? Who am I to deny her from mankind? This is the father talking about his own daughter, you know. A woman with brains? What a waste. A woman's beauty is what a father should invest in. A woman with a sharp mind is like a fish on a bicycle. This is Flora's father, a man in the upper echelon of society. Upper class. They had butlers and servants. They were rich.
I said butlers and servants, you know. What's the distinction there?
Well, they had a butler, and then this butler had a team of servants. So yeah. But yeah, look, I'm not going to pretend that he was some original character, some masterpiece that was invented by the author, Nita Prose. He was obviously the stereotypical stinking rich, snobby, misogynistic male chauvinist. But he was entertaining. Even if a character isn't creative, the most important thing is that they are entertaining. Flora's family was just that. So for the people who haven't read the book, the chapters would alternate between the main story, which was about Molly the maid with her Fabergé egg, and then the alternate story, which was set about 50 years earlier, and it was Molly's grandmother, Flora. It wasn't actually made clear where the link was between the two stories, and if I'm honest, I don't know if I know even now what the actual point of the grandma's story was. But the question is, which story did you prefer and why?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say I preferred Flora's. I think there was a lot more to it. There was more going on between the characters. So there was like even a love triangle. There was like an engagement, and she was obviously wanting to break off her engagement for this romance over here. Then there was murders. There was like villains. There was just everything in there. And then in Molly's
but in the start of the Flora story, I just could not tell where it was going. I was just like, why are we here? Even though I was because of the dad. I think the dad carried it for me. You know, we knew that there was he had some masterful plan, or there was some conniving plans going on or whatnot. So that's what kept me engaged. But I really didn't understand what the point of this was.
You have to fight your way to a certain point. Anyways, you have to fight your way through to a certain point. Until you can like pick up where the story's even going to go.
But as I said, one thing I will say about this book, I never felt like, I've got to keep reading it. It was just like, it was just easy to just get through it.
I kind of felt like that a little bit, but nowhere near as much as some other books we've read, just to put it in context.
Like, if I had to read this book again, I could breeze through it if I needed to.
I mean, the second read's always going to be better because you know where it's going, you know where it starts, you know which bits you don't have to pay so much attention to. It's always going to be better the second time through.
Fair enough.
But
it's always better the second time.
Leftovers always better the day after. Alternate timelines.
Making me hungry. Leftovers?
Alternate timelines are always a risky choice. So we have the present day timeline where Molly's egg has been stolen immediately after auctioning for $10 million. And we also have the past time. Do you know how furious I'd be if they was like, yeah, it's been stolen and it's not insured?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Someone better be giving me more money.
Oh, right. Someone dead. But we also have the past timeline with events from decades ago being revealed in the form of a diary written by Molly's grandmother, Flora Gray. Usually I like my stories to start where they begin and end where they end, but Flora's timeline was actually a lot more interesting than Molly's was. The problem was we had to wait the entire book to see how timelines lined up when I only really cared about one of them. I don't like to feel like I'm going through the rough to get to the green, or that I feel like I want to skip chapters to get back to the good bits. Yeah. And that's kind of how I felt.
But don't you think that's something that's done on purpose?
No.
You don't think they say, let's make this one less just to boost this one up more?
If they do, I think that's a bad move. I think they should make them, they should make them.
But if it's Transformers, fight scene right the way through, then...
No, I get that. It's like even Avengers Infinity War, where it was just action upon action, but it was like the action was...
I was watching today, Fast 10. Have you seen Fast 10?
I ain't seen anything past Fast 6.
It was action.
Was John Cena?
When I say John Cena... Action, when I say 20 minutes worth of action, it was crazy.
Yeah, Fast and Furious, that's the direction they went, isn't it? After Fast 5, realistically, it was all unadulterated action. But I feel like it should be. I'm not saying it should be a fight scene the whole way through. I'm not saying it should be action, but I'm saying I shouldn't look at one as the boring perspective and the fun perspective. I should look at it as the fun one and the other fun one. That's how I should look at it as. Now, whether it's slow paced, fast paced, up to you, but do it right. Or I'm going to refund this book. And I've refunded it already.
Oh, so since I told you about that, you...
Listen, Audible's pockets hurting,
They stop you doing it after a while.
Yeah, no, of course, I've been taking the piss.
So what I did, because I've got about 250 books on there, I went through...
You refunded all of them?
No. I probably refunded about 10, and after that, they said no. But it was like, I went through, the rubbish ones,
I haven't refunded any of the non-fiction ones because all that's a waste. Because I want to read those again. But
of course.
Yeah,
not that we'll ever have time.
Of course not. But we could if we wanted to because they're there.
Well, it's not about what we want. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, let me go. After it is revealed to Molly that she's in possession of a very valuable jewel, being a long-lost Fabergé egg that is said to be worth upwards of $10 million, can you imagine the next thing her boss said to her was, "Can you at least finish your shift? I'm low on staff." Techno I left her. What?
I would have hit with the egg.
I think that's... No, I think that's cheeky as fuck. How
come on, bro.
dare you ask me to
Bro,
finish
finish
my
my
shift?
Bro, you're joking.
But soon after, the story started to lose momentum. It started to drag and lose direction. So yes, Molly has an expensive, life-changing jewel. Yes, she's gone viral and she's effectively a celebrity. Yes, she's struggling to adapt to all the media attention. But where is the book going? It's almost like the story's marking time and waiting for the other story to catch up.
Almost.
So in the other story, Flora was busy going to school and getting felt up by her betrothed. So as I said, I think the grandma's story is very interesting, but I'm struggling to see the relevance. I'm disappointed that the author has made no attempt in disguising the fact that we are marking time, which is something we see all the time. Do you think the authors think we don't realise, or do they just not give a fuck?
I don't think they care. I'm gonna be real. I don't think they care. I don't think they care.
They're like, you know this
Enjoy
isn't
the book.
real.
Yeah,
you
enjoy
know
the
why
book.
you're here.
Enjoy the book.
Strap up.
Yeah, legit. Enjoy the
Let
book.
me strap on. Something else.
Yeah, that went left.
So what? They literally just don't care. They're like, yeah, we know what's happening, sort of thing.
Maybe they don't even notice that it's a thing. Maybe they do it.
They're experts. They're professionals. They've got to know
Well,
this
they're
shit,
professionals.
Right?
No one said experts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah,
Some of them aren't even professionals.
Yeah.
Apparently, Molly is supposed to be neurodivergent. We can see glimpses of this in her spotty memory, her unreliable narration, her tendency to misunderstand idioms. Since the author never clarifies this, however, it's left up to us, the audience, to decide whether she is on the spectrum or whether she's just plain stupid.
I didn't wait. What easy mistake to make. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I touched on the joke. You were right there.
But yeah, no. I just thought she was slow. But
Yeah.
you know, some people aren't special, but they're just slow.
Yeah, exactly. But I went on Reddit looking, and people was like, yeah, she's apparently neurodivergent, etc., like things about her memory, whatever. But I said, if they don't clarify that, you can't say she's neurodivergent. I mean, I feel it made a lot of sense, but
Yeah,
it
because
doesn't
now
even
we
make sense.
start
as an author.
diagnosing people.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
we're not professionals or experts.
unlicensed advice, unlicensed diagnosis. I think it was ultimately a poor decision. The whole point of representation in literature and cinema is for you to collect your brownie points. Readers who suffer from autism, however, may likely feel that Molly is actually a poor caricature of somebody on the spectrum, which might just turn them off the story even more.
I don't think you're supposed to say they suffer with autism. There's
Oh, you're not
nothing
supposed to say
wrong
that.
with them. But
yeah,
they're just brains wired different. They're not disabled.
But there's nothing wrong with being disabled, though. It's not an insult.
Yeah.
So it's not that we don't want to be called disabled, it's just we're not.
Okay, all right. You're trying to cancel us.
Listen, you started it.
You
called them stupid.
I think we've taken way too long to get to this point. The point that the £15 million Fabergé egg was stolen. It's nearly halfway through the bloody book, and only now the authors try to throw us a bone to keep us interested. The problem is, the stolen egg plot doesn't amount to much, as it's found almost immediately. What I thought happened was the egg was stolen and replaced with a replica. That's what I thought. But no. Then, coincidentally, Molly's long-lost drug addict mother appears out of nowhere to warn Molly of the dangerous mobsters, never to return again. You know, why did the author do that?
Yeah.
Why couldn't it just be a good Samaritan that took a liking to Molly? Maybe a mobster who has a code or wants to get out of the mobster's business and go legit. Maybe a mobster who once stayed in Molly's luxury hotel where Molly paid him a kindness, or who even wants a cut of the egg proceeds. Because, you know, Molly went viral, and every person who's ever met her is looking for an excuse to pop up or to figure out a way to get a cut of the proceeds. Why did the author decide to make it her mother come out of nowhere and be affiliated with these mobsters? But yeah, then the Good Samaritan mobster could have double-crossed Molly somehow, which would have made sense for the story. But yeah, I've got a question. Which story do you think had the best characters? Or who was the best character in your head? Or in your opinion? Because I liked the Baxley Brown, who was the show host.
And he was literally from
Molly.
the new one. And he was from the new one. Yeah, no.
What new
Forget
one?
Molly. He was sorry, the present time.
No, that's the way
I
he
call
says
the
it. He'd
new
be
one.
like, listen, Molly. The way he was saying it.
It's-
Very,
but
very
this
dead.
is you just reminded me there was a activate Siri. You just reminded me there was a I forgot what book it was that we read, but it was the way the actress was ending her sentences was really weird. I forgot to talk about this, but it was like this just goes back to my point. When it's an audio book, there's all these things in there that are not part of the book. Do you see what I'm saying? The way that guy says Molly's name, it's not part of the book. It wasn't, the author didn't write that in.
But you don't know, the author didn't write in, but it could have been with the author's direction. I assume it would be. That's what I always assume is the author has creative control over.
Do they?
I don't know. A lot of these are done with AI now. That's what I heard.
Well,
It's all AI. It's all AI. None of it's real.
So how much was real before versus now?
I don't know.
So, the ending. First things first, Nita Prose. You can forget about that fiver. You will never get your money from me. Secondly, I like the twist at the end, but the surplus of coincidence did not go unnoticed. Beagle, one of the appraisers, was the distant descendant of a baron that Algie, a boy once engaged to marry Molly's grandmother, stole the egg from. Oh yeah, and Algie was the ancestor of Maxley Brown, the other appraiser. So a lot to unpack there, and as usual, if you suspend your sense of realism and disable your default skepticism of coincidence, you should enjoy that ending twist just fine. So everyone knows everybody and everyone's related. And it's like, imagine we weren't related, but we did work in the same job, and it turned out that your ancestor stole this watch from my ancestor, and it was worth £10 million.
And I want it back.
And it'd been in my house for my whole life, collecting dust.
It was just like, why did we even do that? Because she needed some way to link the story together. Otherwise,
and she linked it with everybody at every possible point.
You still got one more though.
I got two more.
Yeah, okay. So murder in the manor. The boys got their rifles and went out hunting. The hunting party included Flora's fiancé, her father, and a few other lads and some servants. They returned with a kill, but it wasn't something for the trophy cabinet. Somebody accidentally shot the maid. Now, I didn't foresee a murder in this story. I didn't think it was that type of book. So it turns out it was Flora's betrothed who pulled the trigger. Well, Flora doesn't know this, but she suspects it. And this is all the proof she needs to selfishly call off the wedding. Mind you, this was never a wedding for love. It was a wedding to merge families and merge wealth. Flora's family were on the brink of bankruptcy. Flora walked away, which effectively hammered the last nail into the coffin. Her family lost everything. If you was Flora or her father, what would you have done? Would you convince your daughter to go ahead with the marriage?
You'd have to. Bro, his dad lost his
You know
company.
them man were rich, you know. You
lost
can't
his
go
company.
to normal.
Yeah, come on.
No, when you've grown up with maids and servants and this and the other, you want to go normal life after that?
It's not.
shoot
It's
myself.
It's not a small ask. But yeah, bro.
So was
dad,
Flora selfish then, or did she
Of
do the right
course,
thing?
of course. Listen, those two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but like, there's no question whether that was selfish or not. Her dad lost his company. What did he lose his contract or
All
something?
because
Lost
she
his
didn't want
company.
to marry some guy.
What the hell? Do you want to live in poverty? Because choose. But you know,
That
it's
guy was a
undoubtedly
piece of work,
selfish.
though, wasn't he?
No, he was a piece of work for sure. And like, what was that woman that was even trying to warn her about him?
Yeah. She
And turns
nearly
out he was
got
a
got
thief
in,
as
she
well.
nearly got in the
exactly.
car as well.
Turns out he was a thief as well because he stole the egg, didn't he? But yeah, no, that's undoubtedly selfish. Come on, it's undoubtedly. You have a chance to save your bloodline. You know, everyone after you's gonna be good because of the money that you're gonna make off this one marriage. Obviously, as you said, it wasn't about love.
So do you think that was honestly her call to make?
Who else's call is it to make? I guess it is your call to make, but you just have to make sure you make the right one. You just have to make sure make the right one.
No, because I think she done the wrong thing there, but obviously I can't prove it. I can only give my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's what I said is, who else's call would it be to make? But
No, but I don't think it's her call. I think when a decision affects so many people, you can't just... It's not for you to just say, yeah, I don't want to do it.
Or it shouldn't be for you to just say that.
Yeah, but it is.
Do you
though,
see what I'm
isn't
saying?
it?
It is for you to say that, but you shouldn't say it.
It's riding on your...
That's what I said. Everyone's counting on you. Like your dad's there, like
Yeah.
when you're walking down the aisle, it's counting on you. I'm not giving a throwback anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's like get married, don't get married is what it is. I'm keeping his car. Even the egg, he was like, if he dumps you, keep the egg. What did he say?
Did he
the
say
egg's
that?
still yours. Yeah, he was like, even if Algie dumps you, like you can still keep the
I
egg.
think he said if he backs out of
If
the
he
marriage,
backs out, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of Molly and Juan's love story? They're in love at the beginning. They stay in love for the duration of the story. Then they get married at the end. If she had been single, this would have been an identical story. Yeah. Why did she have a husband?
It was something. Do you know what? It was something for somebody for her to talk to, for her to like pour her feelings out to. It was for some. I think we were supposed to fall in love with the both of them.
I didn't.
Because they were just so.
I just thought there was gonna be some reason why she was married, which I thought it was gonna be. Yeah. He stole the egg. Maybe
I think do you know what it probably is? It's probably because this is a sequel.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that.
We've already got these characters from beforehand, and
apparently John was in a previous novel as well. John Preston, that guy that Flora was in love with, the guy she was really in love with, as opposed to Algie. Apparently he was like a character from one of the other movies.
Oh, he must be the granddad. Yeah, he must be. He's the granddad, isn't it? Yeah. Well, yeah, he is the granddad. I don't understand why Molly and her gang are trying to catch the Fabergé egg thief. The egg has now been returned. Why are they trying to catch the thief? I don't get it. Isn't that the police's job? Sell the egg and enjoy the riches, no? In the very ending of the book, I started to get confused. Apparently, it was the co-host that did it. Mr. Brown and Mr. Beagle were married hosts of the Antiques Roadshow. Only one of them was the baddie. Thomas Beagle worked alone trying to steal the egg for himself. Do you know what actually happened then? Because apparently he stole the egg and then he realized he rightfully owned it and then he returned the egg.
Oh, yeah, and it was like, what is it? He left a note where it was like, sell the egg or you die or something like that. Or sell the egg. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was, I didn't
sell it anyways.
Yeah, I didn't really get what was going on.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion.
Because, you know, you can't steal something that's rightfully yours. So if you did intentionally steal it, but then it turns out to be yours, you don't have to give it back. You can just keep it.
Are you guilty of theft, though, if you didn't know it was yours when you stole it?
No, that's what I was trying to... I mean, you can't be.
Why not?
You definitely... You know, it could be attempted theft.
No, it could be theft.
No, it can't be theft because you took something that's yours, but you attempted to steal something.
But what
if attempted theft?
What if intention matters in theft? So, for example, what
But that's why it would be attempted because you attempted to steal it. No, but you didn't steal it.
If you have the intentions of theft, then you're guilty of theft.
No, I don't think so. That's why I say it's attempted, because he attempted to steal it, but you can't steal something that's yours.
He did steal it.
No, he didn't, because it's his. So he attempted to steal it. So I think you will probably go down for attempted theft.
Is that a crime? Attempted theft?
I don't know.
That can't be
Going
a crime,
equipped,
surely.
that's what they call it. Going equipped, yeah.
Is that what it's called?
If police catch you with tools in the back of your van that look like they can break into things and whatnot, they call it going equipped.
Wow.
Yeah, so they'll nick you for that.
That's crazy. What if you're like a carpenter?
Well, you better show some identification and some qualifications.
I was...
Because we're going to nick you.
I used to
they'll nick you and take your tools.
I used to be a
chef.
So
they'll steal from you.
So they're going equipped now. But I used to be a chef, as you know, and I was on a bus one time.
I haven't finished, you know.
You would have finished now. This is on topic. My bag fell open. My knives just fell out on the bus.
It's a black man.
With knives, you know, with like 6 or 7 chef knives.
They would have shot you.
Long day, mate. 6 or 7 chef knives just fell out on the bus. People were looking at me like, ah!
What happened to those?
What do you mean, what happened to them?
Your chef's knives?
No, they wasn't mine. I loaned them from like my restaurant because I was an apprenticeship. I'd still had those.
Chinging up, man.
Or funny. Slicing vegetables.
Yeah, I also didn't like that all the people in the story were coincidentally interconnected. Like everybody's grandparents knew everybody and whatnot. Spoke about that. I also wasn't really a fan of the ending, but on the other side, with Flora, who, as we know, is Molly's grandma. Flora falls pregnant for the servant's son. They are in love and decide to run away together. Flora is caught in a moral conundrum, and she decides that she cannot let John quit university and mess up his future for her. She decides to go to a house for wayward girls and have the baby and give it up. She does this without his consent. A misguided sense of morality is a powerful thing. Is she doing a good thing? You know, John is the baby father. He's going to want to drop out of uni to look after his family. Is she doing him a kindness? Is it bad to do something that is best for somebody you love? Is it bad to do what's best for somebody you love? Is letting them choose the wrong decision better than forcing them into the right decision?
That's an interesting question. It's interesting, though, that she couldn't let John, ruin his life for this baby or their relationship or whatever, but she could ruin her family's life for that same relationship. So
Yeah, but she saw her family as these evil people, even though they did everything and gave her
Yeah, of
everything
course.
and gave her a privilege and let her
Evil
even let her
'cause they
even let her go uni. She went to go
Yeah.
college or whatever it was.
And she's the one getting pregnant out of wedlock, but she's judging them. Interesting. But
So did she do a good thing? Did she do him a kindness?
I would say so, yeah,
Maybe.
because it removes
She
it
tried
removes
to, innit?
the,
'Cause he
the
didn't even
dilemma
go-
of
he-
choice
yeah.
from him.
But she rubbed him though,
She did rub him for sure.
which is funny because
She went equipped to rob him.
she's doing a kindness. Can you do a kindness by rubbing someone?
I mean,
Let's
we've
say,
just
let's,
seen it.
say, let's say you got cigarettes and I steal them from you.
Yeah.
I've done you a kindness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
'Cause
could.
I sold
A
them
lot of
'cause I
people would look at it
smoked
like
them
that. Yeah,
I've done you a kindness, yeah.
a lot of people would look at it like that for
So
sure.
what if I take your girl because she was gonna break your heart?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of different. Now my heart is broken, but just a different way. It's just a different way now.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
Okay, fair enough.
Answered what if I take it.
Well, that's me done.
What did you think out of 5, by the way?
It can't be a 1, so it have to be a 2.
Fair, I put 2 as well.
Yeah, it has to
1
be
is
2.
incredibly harsh, but 3 is a bit strong.
3 is
so
a
that's
bit
why I
strange.
landed
I think
on.
it could have been as long if we had fixed up the Molly story. But no, the author apparently did say that this was never meant to be a sequel. It was meant to be a standalone book, and she was bullied by the. You know when a book makes a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
they just say, "Yeah, now you're writing another one."
You can write 3 more,
You
bro.
better
Buy
write,
another one.
you
3
write
more.
till I tell you to stop.
Do you know what I mean? Till your hand cramp up
You're
and switch
fucking
hands.
right.
Then switch hands. Yeah, I said 2 out of 5.
That's a keep going. And then when your hand gets tired, switch hands.
Switch hands, bro.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, you may look at 2 out of 5 as harsh, but there was half a book that I wasn't all that interested in. There's a twist at the end that was fairly slapdash, chock full of coincidence, and a pointless love story between Juan Manuel and Molly, obviously, which just made half the book uncompelling, in my opinion. So, you know what? 1. What? You know when you end it on a sour note and you
I think one is
convince
harsh.
yourself
One is
that
harsh.
it's worse than it was. Yeah, I'm doing what you do, you know. It was a terrible book.
Wow.
But yeah, 2 out of 5 is fair. It's definitely a fair score.
Yeah, definitely.
That's where I landed on. There was no dilemma with that. Straight away, I said 2 out of 5. As
If
well.
it was painful to read, then I would have had to take another one off for it. But
Yeah, I suppose.
it wasn't painful. But yeah, listen, I think you got a quote for today?
I've got a quote of the day, yeah.
Because I don't.
Quote of the day. Let me fall if I must fall. The one I am becoming will catch me.
I like
That's
it.
a pretty good quote.
No, I like it. I like it. I think that's quite good, actually. All right. I'll let you fall then. Fool.
I knew it was coming. Don't worry, I'll clip that.
Till next time.
Till next time.